Percentage of the type of power generation in energy mix. For these questions, percentage of power generation is referred to Indonesia and Philippines based on 2020. Despite having a lower level of consumption than its neighbor in Southeast Asia, the Philippines is a net importer of energy. The nation makes coal, natural gas, and oil. A large portion of electricity is produced via geothermal, hydropower, and other renewable sources. This figure shows the Philippine percentage of the various power production type, where you can see the renewable energy is 70.4%, coal is 47.4%, geothermal is 8.7%, hydro is 5.8%, natural gas is 50.8%, and follow with biomass, solar, and wind, which cover 1% for each. For Indonesia, that figure shows the percentage of type of power generation in Indonesia for 2020. Around 82% of the energy used to generate electricity in 2020 come from fossil fuel. 62% for coal, 80% from natural gas, and 2% from oil. 6% from hydroelectric power, 6% from hydro, non-hydro renewable energy, and 4% from other sources like biomass. The majority is 96% of non-hydro renewable energy come from geothermal source.
Assalamualaikum, my name is ADRIANA HUSNA binti Syahriman, and I will explain about the government commitment. Malaysia's Mineral and Geoscience Department under Tawaf Green Energy TGE Sendian Berhad has discovered the first geothermal system in Apas Kiri near Tawau, Sabah around 2008 to 2009. TGE project carried out an exploration program after confirming the existence of geothermal system in Malaysia. However, the 35 million ringgit grant was not covered by any government or non-government to carry out the project. Despite the challenge, TGE starts to develop a geothermal power plant in July 2015 and plans to start operate with a capacity of 37 megawatts in late 2017. Unfortunately, in 2018, the previous Minister of Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change, Yeo Bin Yin, visited the geothermal project site and reported the project seems to be abandoned. She says during Minister Questions time, quote unquote, drilling stopped in the third quarter of 2018 and the slim hole has been closed. All the cabins and drilling equipments are no longer in the site. No workers were found and there is area covered with outgrowths. So, the SEDA terminated the permit to Tawaf Green Energy in 29 August 2018. Yeo Bin Yin said there is no immediate plans by the government to revive the project. However, I personally hope that the geothermal power plant project can be recontinued because 37 megawatt is such a huge number of capacity power. Malaysia has now 34,379 megawatt of total energy mix as recorded in 2020. And even it is less than 1% of total energy mix, it still can hold up to many households, especially in the Sabah. As for the next part, I will explain about the comparison of three power generation, which is geothermal power plant, solar power plant, and hydro power plant in Southeast Asia. As we know, Southeast Asia have 11 countries, and I will focus on Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos. The rapid economic growth in Southeast Asia will be seen in the coming decade, and the energy use is set up to grow significantly. Renewable energy infrastructure investment in the region has been strong, reflecting government effort to reduce carbon emission as well as due to lower the cost of involvement, given cheaper technology and economy of scale. To improve the renewable energy capacity and revive the pandemic hit economic, Asian government have laid an aspirational 5-year sustainability placed under the second phase of ASEAN's Plan of Action for Energy Cooperative, APAEC 2021 until 2025. Vietnam, Thailand, and Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia represent a share of 84% of total installed renewable energy capacity among the Southeast Asia countries. Vietnam leads the sustainability change with a 34% share, following by Indonesia 17%, Thailand 13%, Malaysia 10%, and Philippines 10%. Vietnam has total mixed energy of 68,789 MW, Philippines 26,289 MW, Malaysia 34,379 MW, Thailand 49,385 MW, Indonesia 71,017 MW, Cambodia 2,916 MW, Myanmar 6,891 MW, for the Laos 11,915 MW. For the solar power plant, it used to be that Philippines is the highest total installed capacity, but in recent years, Vietnam has stepped up and become the most total installed capacity with 15,211 GW with total demand of 34%, followed by Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia. For the hydropower plant, Vietnam is number 1 at total installed capacity with 20,774 MW with 30.2% of total demand, followed by Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Myanmar, and Cambodia.
Every human-made project must have benefit and drawback. Both have an impact on the environment, whether for better or worse. There are a few advantages of geothermal energy. The first one is it is renewable and sustainable. Geothermal reservoirs are built and constantly refilled using natural resources. Geothermal energy is therefore considered to be a renewable energy. It endures its own pace of usage, unlike conventional energy sources like coal and fossil fuels. Next, geothermal energy is a dependable energy source. It is stable. Since it is a power plant that have a high capacity factor, the actual power output is almost equal to the whole installed capacity. Therefore, geothermal power plants are quite effective in supplying the baseload energy requirement. Next, geothermal energy is environmentally friendly. A geothermal power plant has negligible carbon footprint. According to EIA, an average geothermal power plant emits 99% less carbon dioxide for each megawatt hour of electricity produced. Lastly, geothermal energy is good for heating and cooling. A different strategy by taking advantage of the very modest temperature difference between surface and ground sources. Seasonal temperature variations are typically better tolerated by the soil than the air. As a result, the ground can act as a heat source or sink for a geothermal heat pump just a few meters below the surface, similar to how an electric pump functions. The first disadvantage of geothermal energy is it is a sustainable issue. According to studies, if the fluid is taken quicker than it is supplied, the reservoir may get empty. After the thermal energy has been used, effort can be made to inject fluid back into the geothermal reservoir as the turbine has generated electricity. Next, geothermal energy is high cost. The expenses of discovering and drilling for new rivers are expensive, typically half the cost. A geothermal plant with a capacity of 1 megawatt typically costs between 2 to 7 million in total megawatt. Next, geothermal energy also have environmental issues. There are a lot of greenhouse gases present underneath the Earth's surface, some of which escape to the atmosphere of the surface. Sulfur dioxide and silica emission are common at geothermal power facilities, and the reservoir itself may have a level of poisonous heavy metal like mercury, arsenic, and boron. The last disadvantage of geothermal energy is location specific. Reliable reliable geothermal reservoirs are difficult to find. Some areas of the crust, however, have high heat flow rate, and this can offer heat energy at depth that can be profitably tapped by a number of current technologies. To conclude this research, geothermal energy is considerably safer than most other energy sources. Despite the existence of geothermal sources, district heating is economically impractical in many built-up regions. Three main components that make up geothermal system are heat source, heat sink, and heat exchanger. There are some improvements can be made for policymakers, as there are certain adjustments that can be implemented. Drilling, a lack of financial incentive, a lack of funding or assistance, expensive exploration costs, and lack of business model are among the obstacles preventing the development of geothermal resource in the country. Drilling incentive, low interest loan, feed-in tariff, tax break, technical competence, and technology transfer are creative approach to overcome the obstacle. That's all from us. Thank you.